What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to DSM pregame live, streaming live on DSM Media's YouTube channel exclusively. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. To my right, my co-host here on Sixers pregame live is Scotty. Check him out at Scotty Drown, and you can find all of our content at DSM_media on Twitter. But this show is specifically, exclusively on the YouTube channel. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it out, whatever you guys want to do. But it is the best way to get involved with each and every one of the shows here on DSM Media. Scotty, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I just left the gym, got home a little bit ago. I'm ready for.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a little pumping. Got the juices flowing. But yeah, I'm feeling the faithful fanatics comment down there. Get the winning streak started tonight. And that's kind of how I'm feeling going into this game. I'm feeling good. Obviously, we're waiting on them fills, man, and that's where the
attention, right?
That's where the anticipation's building up. But in the meantime, let's get some W's. Let's get the vibes right in Philly. Get them ready for the fills, right?
The Sixers are like the middle child right now.
They are
because you got the oldest and maybe the favorite, whether it's the Phillies or the Eagles, but one of them, let's take the Phillies, for example. They're making a World Series appearance starting this weekend. So all eyes and all the attention is on the oldest right now, right? And then you got the Eagles, 6-0 coming out of a bye week. Howie fleeces the Bears 2 hours ago and adds another pass rusher in Robert Quinn. That's the youngest child getting attention. Oh, look how adorable. Look how cute. Yeah, the Sixers sit in the middle. Slow start, 1-3 to start the season. Now they're in Toronto. They're just trying. They're looking up, like, give me some attention. So we're going to give them some attention tonight, Scotty. But before we get into tonight's Raptors matchup, keys to victory, our goal of the game, our best bets, predictions, all that, we have to start by recapping what we saw at home against the Indiana Pacers, which resulted in the Sixers' first win of the season. And to be honest with you, man, I was thrilled. I was happy with what I saw the other night. Now, don't get me wrong. They would get up 20, and then Indiana would come back and make it 10. They'd get off 15. Indiana would make it 8. But it's a game of runs, right? And sometimes you take your foot off the gas against a lesser talented team. Not that it's the correct thing to do, but it happens over the course of a game. James Harden, phenomenal, right? Tobias Harris continued shooting from 3. We made our first goal of the game of the year was the bench to score 20 plus. Well, guess what? They outdid their first 3-game total by scoring 35, 40 plus the other night.
Yes, sir.
And the one thing I was thrilled with, and I'll send it to you here, is what was the one thing we looked for offensively? Off-ball movement. Opening up guys, setting a screen for Tyrese Maxey to come out of the corner, even when he's not in the picture of the play, right? Opening thing, off-ball action. And you saw a lot of it against Indiana. The ball moved a lot more crisply throughout the game against Indiana in the half-court set than we had really seen. So just thoughts on that and thoughts on the Sixers win as a whole.
It's getting in the right direction, right? And that's kind of what we were looking for in that Indiana game. Like, when you go into a game where, no offense to Indiana, no offense to San Antonio Spurs, like, these are teams that are what we would call bottom feeders of the NBA right now, what they should be, right? Like, just being honest about the talent that's on each of these rosters. So when you go into these games against lesser talented teams, right, you have to just set the little goals. You have to get the little wins in order to build that confidence, keep that energy right, keep those positive vibes going. And I thought the Sixers did that in that game. You saw it early on, like you said, moving around, just the screen. Like, I saw plays that I don't know if were
it looked like
plays,
actual sets.
Right. Like, there was this one play where they moved the ball around real quick around the perimeter. Somebody came over. I think Tobias set a screen for Maxey. Maxey gets a wide open 3 in the corner. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see all of these other guys involved in the offense. I get it. We need everybody to play defense. Well, guys don't want to play defense if they're not getting involved on offense. That's not motivating. So you got to get these guys involved, get these guys shots. And I was happy to see the bench, man. You got Niang with 7 shots, 6 3-pointers in that game. 6 3-pointers attempted, I should say.
Right.
4 shots from House, 3 3-pointers attempted for House. That's what we need from those 2 guys specifically. Even 4 3-pointers attempted from Melton. Same thing. We need those guys to get up shots so that the defense has to they have to be held accountable. it always goes back to like Ben Simmons and like holding the defense accountable. It's not to that level, obviously, but you got to hit shots so that guys have to get out and close out on you on shot fakes so you can get those easy buckets for Embiid. And they're on the right track. That's all we can ask from that Indiana game.
Can I throw in the one, not negative, but maybe the one question mark I had coming out of the game? And I talked about it with Phil on Tuesday morning, I believe. I could be. Yeah. And it was essentially this. We talked about the bench, right? And we talked about the lack of scoring and we need more from them. And we talked about how Doc has really shortened the rotation and Matisse wasn't getting no run. You're not seeing Furkan, etc. The only question mark was really he doesn't know what to do at the backup five. Here's Paul Reed. Here's Montrezl Harrell. Scott, you saw Shake Milton in this game in the third and the fourth quarter. And I'm only bringing that up to question, like, does he have a grip on what he's trying to accomplish? So my point being, the first 3 games, it's noticeable throughout the course of a game. It's not something you look back to and you go, oh, shit, the bench didn't score tonight. You're seeing the struggles offensively from the bench unit, right, throughout the game. When the bench is struggling, you don't go to Shake Milton, who, if he's shown you one thing in the past, he can get you a bucket sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Now you get to this game where they're winning, the bench is producing at a high level.
Yeah.
Now Shake's playing.
Yeah.
Now that could be, obviously, we didn't know the DeAnthony Melton, he's playing tonight, but he had a little bit of a strain or whatever. It maybe had something to do with that. But like what's happening, man?
Yeah, and see, that's what that makes me wonder is like. It's probably the like worst case scenario. Like it's the nightmare you don't want to imagine about the Sixers. But what that looks like to me is that he knew the bench was struggling the previous games. He came in, he made that adjustment before the game, and he didn't adjust in game. He just went with his pre-game adjustments, right? And that's what it always seems like. And that's how other teams get one step ahead of you, right? Like that's what that sounds as you laid that scenario out to me, and I see exactly what you mean. That just seems like he was planning to put Shake in there because they couldn't get a bucket. It could be the DeAnthony Melton thing, maybe.
Right, but like, because I started to think about it, I'm like, well, did Melton not come back in? But I'm pretty sure Melton came back in the game after Shake got run in the third quarter. So it's like, I don't know. It's just something that stuck out to me. Like, why was tonight the night when the bench is producing that you play him, but not San Antonio, not Milwaukee, when the bench couldn't do anything, right?
Because that's the one thing Shake it can be is a spark plug, like you said, a score. Yeah, like he can get a bucket.
It's not a given, but if you got to dig deep on your bench, he can maybe do that for you. The other thing, Doc has to start to figure out as the season goes on. It's very early, a lot of new moving pieces acquired. Got to figure out what goes where, who can play with who. I got it. But the whole Paul Reed, Montrezl Harrell thing, I get it's going to be matchup based. But for instance, take the Bucks game. So he goes with Paul Reed in the first half. Montrezl Harrell sits on the bench for the first 24 minutes of the game, and plus to start the second half. And then he's the guy off the. How is Montrezl Harrell supposed to be effective coming in off the bench halfway through the third quarter after not playing? How is Paul Reed supposed to get any confidence playing the first half, but then not coming back in the second half?
The only thing I can think, and you bring up good points. I get Doc maybe trying to figure out who's going to be best going forward. I don't know if that's the case, because I see what you mean. Once again, they basically split 20 backup minutes between Harrell and Paul Reed.
Right.
So I don't know if that's Doc. I hope that's Doc trying to figure it out. But to your point, chemistry that definitely disrupts rhythm, chemistry, all of that, and
I need
pretty soon. If we're not to the point where we got a lineup in about 2 weeks, I would red alert,
sure.
Right? Like
for sure.
Because
like, I need
guys
you to figure that out
and
playing
with each other. Yeah.
Like I need you to figure this stuff out during the daytime.
I mean, unless Paul Reed and Montrezl Harrell are just neck and neck in talent level and what they provide, like. I don't know if that's the case, but if you just can't decipher in practice who's better, like it needs to be figured out. I would even say within the next week or so, next 3-4 games, you need to lock down your lineup, roll with it, figure out what we need to do. If you have to, after a while make adjustments, then you do it at that point. But you need to figure out who your guys are, because right now we're just Melton in, Maxey out, Harden with Melton out, Maxey in, Maxey with like Matisse, or it's just so all over the place right now. But I imagine he will get it together, but can't put anything past Doc at the same
I love this
time.
comment by Abe. Abe, you might catch some flack for this, but not here on this show. I know Sixers fans love Paul Reed, but to be honest, the less of him we see, the better. He's not offering a lot when he comes in. He fouls a lot. He turns the ball over. And Scott, he just brings nothing to you offensively. And I know he's still extremely young and he's pretty raw, but I've seen no growth in his game offensively in a half court. He can't finish around the rim. He's too, he's too jittery. Like he gets the ball and it's like he throws, like, I don't know. He's too,
and he's like too wired in a
yes,
sense.
he's
like,
not
he's
fine-tuned
like
offensively.
wound up.
And
he's like wound up when he comes in the game. What I would say with Paul Reed, you don't need Paul Reed as much when you bring in a PJ Tucker, when you bring in these, like, that is the only thing you're throwing Paul Reed in there for, is to like go and foul hard, right? Like play some decent defense, get in a guy's
but then
face,
I guess
and play
to
with
Abe's
energy.
Point
don't need
in
to
our
put him in
conversation
there.
about the rotation, why do you need that when you went out and got yourself a Montrezl Harrell?
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
So
I agree with
that's
you.
the question mark. Listen, they won the game.
Yeah.
I thought if we're gonna give Doc flack about the rotation and stuff like that, have to give credit where credit's due. The offense looked better. The bench played better. The defense played better. Now, I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning of the game, defense was They still struggle getting back. Scott, he's not even getting back in transition defense. They make a bucket and then get beat back the other way for an N1.
Like a Hail Mary pass back, like to get an easy bucket.
It's real frustrating, man, but that's effort, and that's lackadaisical play, and hopefully they clean that stuff up. But time to get into tonight's matchup versus the Toronto Raptors. The last time the Sixers were here, Pascal Siakam's elbow broke Joel Embiid's face, and apparently, to Toronto announcers, Joel deserved it. So let's get into tonight's matchup, some keys to victory. Obviously, there was question marks about DeAnthony Melton's health into tonight. He is available. I have not seen a report about Scotty Barnes. He's still a game-time decision, I believe, so I don't know if you've seen anything on Twitter, but we don't know if Scotty Barnes is in the lineup for Toronto tonight. Let's get into some key matchups and some keys to victory tonight. What are you looking for versus Toronto? This is one of those tough, scrappy teams. No real superstar power coming from them, but they can shoot the ball from the three-point line. They play tough defensively, and they got some length off the bench that can stretch the floor as well with a Chris Boucher and some of those guys. So what are you looking for tonight against Toronto?
No, I'm glad you highlighted all of that before you passed it to me, because it kind of all feeds into all of that, because that's who the Raptors are. They're a good coach team. They're going to play the Sixers tough tonight, and Embiid, I'm sure, is going to have some energy for them tonight. The first thing that I am interested in, because Pascal Siakam, I won't lie to you, while he did break Embiid's face, he's balling this season so far. He's averaging 26.5 points per game, 10 rebounds, 6.8 assists. So he's doing it all right now for the Toronto Raptors. So starts with him, right? You can't shut a guy like Pascal Siakam down, but limit him. Don't allow him to get others involved. I think that's the goal there with Pascal Siakam. What I'm interested with him, we watched Tobias Harris guard him that entire series last postseason. Tobias Harris did a hell of a job. You have PJ Tucker now. Right. So you can probably alternate them. You can leave PJ on there until he gets foul trouble, whatever the case may be. I'm interested to see that. What can PJ Tucker do against Pascal Siakam?
I'm glad you bring that point up, because if you think back to the playoff series last year, what was an area Toronto gave us fits in? That their length, their size, their quickness, right?
Yeah, offensive rebounding.
The Sixers getting bigger, where you mentioned Tobias did a hell of a job on Pascal Siakam, but they still have Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, bigger bodies, right?
Good point.
You get bigger by yourself, PJ Tucker, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, all in the starting lineup. Yep. That can alleviate some of that length and size that Toronto has on the glass.
Absolutely. And that's why I love that you pointed out Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa. I'm interested to see who their starting lineup is going to be, even with Scotty Barnes. Without Scotty Barnes, it's going to be even more interesting. But they've thrown out a couple different lineups to start games this season. I know in the postseason they started with Birch starting out against Embiid just because it's Embiid. But like I've seen rotations where they start Precious. I've seen rotations they start a rookie. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but
Koloko.
That's exactly who I'm talking about. He's got one start, I think, this season. So they've kind of gone a couple different directions.
Right. They're tinkering things as well, yeah.
I think they may have to go a different direction tonight because there's no way you're sticking a Chris Boucher on Embiid. Precious. I mean, you're going to have to at some point, but I don't think you start the game out like that. So that's one thing.
And you damn sure can't start Siakam.
Yeah, you cannot put Siakam on Embiid. Right. I mean,
and if Scotty Barnes is out, that hurts you as well defensively for them.
Absolutely, because he brings versatility and length as well.
I would say that's the area I'm looking to attack tonight, Scotty. So the Sixers bench is coming off of a good offensive performance. Not great, but a good offensive performance. And I'm just looking at this Toronto roster. And don't get me wrong, when you have a healthy Scotty Barnes, you're talking about OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, Pascal Siakam, they have guys, right? And specifically in the front court with Chris Boucher, Precious, Thad Young,
annoying.
Right? Otto Porter Jr. is out, but he'll be there.
Yeah.
Scotty, they don't have depth in the backcourt. You're rolling Malachi Flynn and I don't know who this is, but Delano Banton out there.
Rookie?
I don't know. I'm looking at they had no one else. Like their point guard and shooting guards behind Trent and VanVleet. It's Flynn and Banton, and then it says VanVleet and Scotty Barnes and Anunoby on lower on the depth chart there. So they have no backcourt depth. The Sixers guards need to take advantage of that. So whether it's the Anthony Melton coming off the bench, whether Harden's still on the floor or Maxi's still on the floor and VanVleet or Trent is off, take advantage of that because you are not going to threaten me at all with Malachi Flynn. It's just not happening specifically on the defensive side of the ball.
And that's where, you go out and you get these bench pieces this offseason. That's why, right? Like I hate to use the word struggle with the Raptors last season.
They did, in a sense.
In a sense, there was some length issues that we were dealing with in that game. And obviously, I believe, was it Matisse started in that? I don't think, no, we had Danny Green starting, didn't we? At small forward?
Yeah.
Or shooting. Small forward because Tyrese Maxey was starting at shooting guard and Harden. So you had Danny Green out there. That's a huge difference. And that was a great point you brought up earlier with just adding PJ Tucker into that mix. But the bench as well, you mentioned that bringing in Melton off the bench, he should be the best bench guard in this game, right? So that's an advantage. Like we didn't have that before. So that is quite a good point. And the other point here, it's something that we kind of touched on. I said hit shots because like you said, the Toronto Raptors, they're going to play good defense. They're going to figure out some way to be annoying to Embiid. I don't know how it's going to happen just yet. We're going to find out. They're going to find some way. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Embiid can just be better because he's that level, but they're going to find some way to kind of complicate Embiid and have him give the ball to others. So guys got to hit shots tonight, right? And you got to hit the boards.
I love that point. And especially what you saw Milwaukee kind of lay, not a blueprint, but just schematically running the Sixers off the 3-point line, not giving them any breathing room. The Sixers shot, that had to have been a team low in 3-point attempts, and I don't know how long. And they obviously still only lost the game by 2. No, a lot of things that went into that loss, right? Yeah. But Toronto is one of those teams that can give you fits defensively as well. And as Gabe's talking about, make you struggle and make you uncomfortable and make you work for everything in the half court.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a specific matchup. You're talking about earlier on about how, Precious or Chris Boucher or Kem Birch or Siakam, none of these dudes can take Joel one-on-one. And I'm not comparing the size and the skill set, obviously.
Yeah.
Doc's got to let Montrezl Harrell have a longer leash tonight. And tonight's a night where I'm looking. If they can't handle Joel, guess what, man? They can't handle Trez in the paint either. Trez can get a bucket
that man
himself.
Get some
he hasn't been able to so far through 4 games this year. Give him a leash. This is not a game for Paul Reed to come in unless early on, which Doc can't do because he doesn't adjust anyway.
Yeah.
But unless early on you saw them giving you fits with length and size at the 4 or 5 somehow. Yeah. And you know what? I got to throw Paul in there for defensive purposes. If not, Nah, man, this is Montrezl Harrell's backup job
get in
tonight.
there and bring that energy, man. Like,
let
he's
him get 10, 12, 13 points tonight. Yeah, 100%.
He needs minutes to get going because he feeds off energy. Once he gets that and one bucket or that
look at the preseason. I know it's preseason,
exactly.
But like that's live action ball, and he was a big part of why they
averaged 13 points last season, man. You gotta get these guys involved. D'Anthony Melton as well, man. He's sitting at 6.3 points per game. He was at 10 points per game off the Memphis bench last year.
11.5.
Memphis is a deep ass team. You know what I mean? So like, if he can get those shots, get those points
in a crowded room,
there is zero reason he should. Yeah, in a room with Tyus Jones and Ja Morant.
Right.
You're telling me he went
from a little fish in a big pond on that bench last year to what's supposed to be a big fish in a little pond. Speaking of just the bench unit, right? So I agree, man. The Sixers need to take advantage of their depth tonight. The bench needs to show up. Daniel House knocked down a couple threes. George Niang knocked down a couple threes, right? So we'll see. But that's the matchups. Those are some keys to victory for us. Scotty, let's get to our players of the game. We're not going to get to predictions yet, and we still have a couple more segments to get through. But players of the game, who are you looking for to get into it tonight? I had Tyrese Maxey last game. You had Joel Embiid, and if we're being honest, we were both wrong. James Harden was the player of the game. James Harden has been a player of the game 3 of the first 4 games, if we're honest. So who do you have tonight standing out and helping lead the Sixers to victory tonight?
I'm wondering if we'll be on the same page here because I feel like it's a vibe this game, but it's got to be Joel Embiid, right? Like you broke his face, ruined his playoffs. Like it's got to be Embiid tonight. I know I talked about how they try to make it. Abe pointed out the perfect word. I love that word, uncomfortable, because that is exactly what the Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics, and the Toronto Raptors all do to our team. And I cannot stand. It makes me uncomfortable. I hate it. That's what I'm looking at here tonight. But Embiid is still going to be able to get his. And my other key to victory, it goes along with player of the game. Get Embiid in the paint. Let him dominate down there, man. It's one of those games where Embiid, he needs to put his Shaq backpack on and take their asses to the paint. I know it's so like old school Philly, get your ass in the paint, 1 foot.
But it's like, the truth in this situation.
It's the truth in this situation. Like this is what Embiid needs to do. Looking at Embiid in that playoff series, Dylan, 26.2 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, 52% from the field. Embiid was a plus 50, plus minus in that 6-game Toronto Raptors series last year. Why can't he just pick up where he left off and add something extra on it for Siakam?
So I love it because they can do whatever they want defensively or offensively, right? So we know if they're throwing Chris Boucher out center they're going to try to draw Joel away from the rim on the defensive side of things. That's fine. That does not dictate what we want to do offensively. So they can pull you away from the rim, have you out by the 3-point line all they want on that end. Offensively, get your big ass on the block, and I'm force-feeding you to start tonight because you're going to get them in foul trouble, and you're either going to score or get fouled. They have no answer for you. And guess what? And this is the one area Joel improved on steadily over the last 2 or 3 seasons. If they throw other looks at you, if they collapse on you, double team you, triple team you, you are 7'2", my man. Hold the ball up here and find the effing open guy around the paint, right? Or around the 3-point line.
It's all patience, man.
Don't get trapped in the corner. Don't ISO from the wing on the 3-point line. No, get on the block, back to the basket. Not 100% of the time, but that's where you should be working. We talk Eagles all the time, right? Together, we talk identity. We talk when things get tough. They pound the rock. They tell you what they're going to do, and you still can't stop it. That Toronto can know what you're going to do with Joel Embiid tonight, and they will not be able to stop it if he makes the correct calls. Whether that's passing out of a double team or whether that's finishing or attacking on the block one-on-one tonight. So that's huge for me. Abe's going with Harden. I love the Embiid call. We are on the same page, but just for the sake of throwing another name in the hat, Tobias Harris.
Oh, I like
he's someone we haven't really talked about. And I went with Maxey last game. I'm not going to double down and double dip and say, you know what, Tyrese gets going tonight.
It's crazy because it could be any of the 4 anytime. It really could, but we have fun.
But Toby, to me, Toby was outstanding in the postseason last year, and he was outstanding against Toronto. I look for this to be a game where Tobias Harris gets a lot of looks from the wing and corner from the 3-point line. I'm looking, Scotty, ready for this?
Yeah.
4 threes knocked down from Toby tonight. That's my crazy prediction tonight. We will see.
Phil giving us some updates there. I was just checking
we got ours in.
Yeah.
That's weird. And if Barnes is in, that's odd that they would take it down, because unless they didn't have him up and they're putting him in now, but if they already had him in, there would be no reason to shut down same game parlay.
I see. I mean, it's still up on mine.
It's up. All right, we'll see. Abe, what do y'all really want to see tonight? I want to see better ball movement all around, get their defense out of their sets. Back up now. Gotcha. Okay. Scotty. Before we get into our best bets and goal of the game and all, what do you really want to see tonight? If I'm looking defensively, and I'm just looking straight for hustle and energy and getting back on defense. I don't want to see a Joel Embiid making the paint and 2 passes, a stretch pass, and Toronto's beating you down the floor for a layup or an one. I don't need to see it. Those are stupid fouls. They're unnecessary because you should just be getting back on D. So energy defensively tonight for me, especially on the road.
I like that call. And I'll kind of piggyback off of that. It's not necessarily like energy or defense for me, but I guess it is, in a sense, energy. Do not worry about the refs tonight. Do that for me against Nick Nurse and this Toronto Raptors team up in Toronto.
Do
me a favor and do not cry about the refs tonight. Do not worry about the refs tonight. Just play basketball.
And protect your faces.
And protect your faces. Do not let them get in your heads, because that's one thing. We know Nick Nurse, he coaches those guys to try to do that, try to start stuff with Embiid, get him all worked up. We need to stay away from that. Focus on the objective, which is winning. Along with that, I would piggyback right off Abe's point as well. I just want to see that ball free flowing, man. When everybody touches the ball in offense, you can just see all of their energy uprise. Like Tobias, he doesn't have to shoot a shot. Just pass him the ball so he can pass it to the next guy. Touching the basketball in itself is such a good feeling, and I think they just need to continue to move that ball around. Not a bunch of James can get his shots, and I'm not saying anything bad about James. Just not a bunch of bouncing the ball around at the top.
Yeah.
Same with Embiid. Not a lot of pounding the rock, posting up. Just move the ball around. You guys are going to get easy buckets against this it's just a smaller team. You got size on them. So that's what I'm looking for. Just a free flowing. It's all about energy, Dylan. Quite honestly.
How about we talk about the energy
and that mindset?
And we talk transition defense and getting back. How about we get out and transition ourselves?
On the other end, how about you have one of the fastest players in the NBA?
I'll throw another thing out for you that I'm looking for tonight before we move on. How about we control the pace? How about we can control the tempo tonight? Right? We dictate how the ball moves tonight and the pace of this game. We don't allow them to do that on their home court. Walk into Toronto. You have a back-to-back in Toronto. So this one's important to go get first.
Yeah.
You got your first win. You really want to get to 2 and 3 before having another game in Toronto, rather than being 1 and 4 with Toronto. So this is an important game tonight, Scotty. So with that being an important game, our goal of the game, we set our first one last the previous game against Indiana, and that was for the bench to score 20 plus, which was not a crazy thing to ask for at all. And they went above and beyond the 20 plus. So what are we looking for tonight? We talked about it pre-show, and my player of the game last time was Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey struggled not just to get involved, but to finish and to knock down shots really through 3.5 quarters last game. He hit like 2 threes at the end or whatever. But Tyrese Maxey has not been implemented in this offense.
Yeah.
So what's our goal of the game tonight, Scotty?
Yeah, I want to see a Tyrese Maxey-esque preseason game. And I know it was preseason. He shot the lights out. We talked about this before the show. Get Tyrese Maxey comfortable in the offense. Give him the green light tonight, right? Go out there, shoot the shots. We need him. Tobias Harris shot 10 3-pointers last game. We need that from Maxey. Let it fly.
Right. How about 6 and 4, 5 and 5? You know what I mean? Like not all 10 of those bitches need to go to Tobias.
Exactly. So let me get 3 3-pointers made by Tyrese Maxey tonight. Get back on that stride. And if he makes 3, that means he's shooting enough to make 3. So I want shots up from Maxey. I want him to be comfortable in the game tonight. And that would be my goal for tonight. 3-pointers made for Tyrese Maxey. I like it. I like it. Get that game.
That is our goal of the game. 3-pointers made by Tyrese. And why is that? Because you alluded to the preseason, right? And it's preseason. I get it. But he was in control. Yeah. Even with Harden or Embiid on the floor and Tobias on the floor in the preseason, he would pull up off the dribble to start a game and knock 3 threes down. I'm not asking for that, but last game and the previous couple games, he's much too passive with the big names out on the floor.
He's got that Seth Curry syndrome where
he gets the ball on the wing and
shoot it, man. Let it ride.
He hesitates for a second. Now there's a closeout. He puts the ball on the floor and throws it back to Joel at the top of the key. Nah, dude, if you're open from the corner, if you're open from the wing, take the shot. I know we're asking for 3-pointers, but guess what? Even if you hesitate for a second, jab step or pump fake, put the ball on the floor, raise up and knock down a mid-range. Be it more aggressive, but the goal of the game is 3-pointers from Tyrese Maxey. And with that being said,
yes, sir,
we get to our best bet of the night. So a new segment we're implementing here on the Sixers pregame show is Scotty and I are going to put together a same game parlay, and it will be our combined best bet of the night or our play of the day, if you will. So this one, we want something easy, right? We want something light, and I'm sure some games we're gonna have a longer list, and we're gonna try to get riskier, right? But we're looking for a win tonight because the gambling gods have not been too kind to us as of late. So
this and the Sixers have been a wild card, quite honestly.
Exactly, you never know.
They've been a wild card.
It's a shame we didn't give out our last one. We didn't think of this till today because the one we did for the Pacers game did end up hitting. That we both did. So this one's short. 4 legs, boosted on DraftKings, 25% boost. With the boost, it's plus 175. It's not a lot, but whatever. We have 13 plus Tobias Harris points, 1 plus Tyrese Maxey 3-pointer made, over 1.5 Tyrese Maxey assists, and 15 plus points for James Harden. All of these things, all 4 legs here, Scotty, are at the lowest point of the starting point for these guys' odds, right? So you can't go lower than 15 James Harden points. You can't go lower than 1.5 Tyrese Maxey assists, 1 Tyrese Maxey 3. Harris, you could have started at 12 points. I'm feeling good about Toby tonight. I took a point above. Watch that kill us tonight, but that is it. 25 pays 68.75. Plus 175 odds boosted. It's just a little win, man.
If you guys are Sixers fans, if you're Phillies fans along with that, this is the parlay to get you right for Phillies World Series. We're gonna get your bankroll up so you can throw it down for the Phillies in the World Series. That's the goal here.
That's the key.
Yes, I like this one nonetheless. I feel like this is a safe play. We want Maxey to get 3-pointers made.
Right,
we'll just take one on our parlay.
Yeah, right. We can think Harden goes off again. I just need him for 15. You know what I mean? Tobias could go for 20. I just need 13, Toby. Let me get another 7-point first quarter. That's all I need. Watch. You know what'll happen tonight since we gave this out, right? Tobias will go 0 for 4 in the first quarter and have 0 points.
Man.
And he'll be passive from that point on. Nah, all kidding aside.
He needs to go up there. He needs to go up there with the green light, man.
He's been stellar this year, man.
Yeah, 10 3-pointers
so far this year.
Maybe not 10, right? But if they're open, take them, right?
For sure.
Just the willingness to take them is a good sign for me with Tobias.
We have our goal of the game. We have our key matchups. We have our play of the game. Predictions, Scotty. Do the Sixers get the dub tonight in Toronto and make this a 2-3 record on the year, or do they fall short and get to 1-4 territory?
I think they get the W tonight. I think they get the win tonight. I do see them splitting this nonetheless in Toronto. I do kind of see that. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the win tonight and then maybe somebody sits for that next game in Toronto maybe. But at the same time, they're trying to get guys right. So I don't know if now is the best time to be doing load management. And the season just started, to be fair.
And it's not a back-to-back. It
isn't technically a back-to-back. You get a day off. So I do see the Sixers splitting this one. Now, if the Sixers can get right, if we see that the Sixers are looking right, looking, a lot better than what they had last week, then there is a chance I could see the Sixers sweeping this team. They are a better team than the Raptors. Don't get me wrong. I just think the state that the Sixers are in right now, if they have a bad shooting night, they could lose to the Raptors if they're having a good shooting night. But tonight, I think you impose your will. You have Scotty Barnes late added to the card. Impose your will on them, get Embiid involved, and let's get this W, get the 2 wins, and we'll go from there, right? We don't have to worry down the line, one night at a time. I think they get the W tonight, though.
Get back on defense, impose your will on the block, and the bench outscore Toronto's. It should not be that difficult. They are weak in the backcourt, backcourt depth-wise. So looking for a big game from Harrell, Melton, House, whoever it wants to be. These guys need to step up, and I think they will tonight, Scotty. You got to try to be modest and real with it. So a split in a 2-game set in Toronto, I get you.
I'm saying that now.
Right. The Sixers
maybe after the game, I feel different.
The Sixers are semi-desperate right now because if they lose this, you're 1-4, and then you're really desperate because you can't start 1-5, right? So this is a big game tonight for the Sixers to continue to get right. James Harden's been playing at MVP level. It's time to get the full thing going. I think the Sixers win tonight. I think their size is too much down low. Just with Embiid, I mean, I don't mean throughout the rest of the squad, just with Joel. And then I think the backcourt really exploits the depth of Toronto. I'll go with the Sixers win. I don't know where to put the score because this could be a defensive bat. This could be like 99-95. I don't know. Or it could be, 111-108. I have no idea. I'm going to go with the Sixers win 103, Toronto 97. Sixers win by 6.
6-point win. 6-point win. I like it. Yeah, I'm with you. I would say high 90s, low 100s. So let me just throw something out. I'm going to go 108-98, 10-point win. 108-98. I like it.
Statement. Little statement.
Just a little bit at the end, they pull away. Something like that. That's
some
what I would
free
like
throws
to hear.
down the line. I got you. Guys, that is going to wrap up this edition of DSM Pregame Live. Sixers Raptors preview exclusively on DSM Media's YouTube channel. DSM Media and the pregame show is proudly brought to you by our friends over at Gents Barber Lounge. Check them out at one of 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City to book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area, having multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Take a look at some of Gents' work. Again, you can check them out at www.gentsbarberlounge.com to book your appointments today. Also, check our friends over at Luxiden Jewelers at shopluxiden.com. You can use promo code DSM for 25% off and free shipping of your total purchase. Again, that is promo code DSM, all caps, at checkout for 25% off, and they also include free shipping. You can check us all out at DSM_media on Twitter. Give my guy Scotty a follow. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. Scotty, anything else before we end the show here?
No, that is all I got for you guys tonight. Go Sixers. Let's get the W. Keep the vibes right.
Brotherly love, brother.
Yes, sir. Brotherly love. Keep it flowing, man.
Ring that bell. Enjoy the game. Try to win some money. Hopefully we don't lose you any money. Let's go Sixers.
It's as safe as it's going to.
And Philadelphia has it.